Welcome to the Comments from the Peanut Gallery podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Kurtz. I'm here with a special guest today, CFTPG and Port City MMA's own, the Machine, Justin Osborn. How you doing today, boss?
I'm doing good, man. I'm just happy that I finally made it home, man.
Yeah, it seemed like it was some pretty treacherous conditions on the travel back from AC. So for everybody out there listening, my man right here just pulled off another victory. He is undefeated as a pro in his career. Won big in Atlantic City at the Hard Rock Casino this last weekend. Justin, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you had going on?
Yeah, so after my debut, I was actually slated to fight on a show in Pensacola, Florida, Island Fights, the show that actually Iron Mike's going to fight on. Shout out
to Iron Mike Barnett.
Yeah, he's about to smoke some guy on September 29th on UFC Fight Pass. But so I was supposed to fight on Island Fights, and they gave me two guys. And so I was like, okay, it's a pretty good chance I'm going to get on this card if you get two guys. And they both turned me down, which was pretty surprising. I mean, one of the guys decided to move down a weight class, and then the other guy, I don't even know the other guy. He's like from Tampa, but he has like a 4-1 record. But who knows? He might have gotten like an offer from somebody else that was better. So, but yeah. So, my mentality is, there's no use crying over spilled milk. So, I had heard that this show in Atlantic City, MMA Pro League, was looking for short notice guys willing to take fights on short notice, because they had a bunch of guys like fall off the card. It was like an epidemic. So, I reach out through the tea leaves, and then they give me a phone call like a day later, and they say, hey man, we'd love to have you on the card, bubble, the whole promoter mumbo jumbo. And then it was funny because they were trying to get me to fight at 170 pounds instead of 155, and I told them, well, no, that's not how this works, man. Like, I fight at 155, man. And but I said, if you're looking for a 170, my buddy Mark Kolker, he's right here. So I just passed the phone to Mark, actually. So we ended up getting two guys on the show, which was pretty cool. I mean, so because then it was almost like, business as usual. And
yeah, so, definitely. Well, that's awesome that you guys, with having two guys, you got to have, team members with Mike, you got to have coaching, all of that. But, from obviously I'm a little bit more in the know just because we've conversed all along in the process, but you definitely had some interesting circumstances while you were out there. That's am I correct by saying that?
Oh yeah. So the state of New Jersey is like one of the most strict states when it comes to regulation. Like for example, when we were in the locker room warming up, if we had to use the restroom, Oreo, get out of here. If we had to use the restroom, right? You had to have a commission official go to the restroom with you. And it's just so that way they make sure you're not tampering with your gloves or your wraps or whatever. So that was one of the examples. But then we had to get all these crazy medicals done. Like we had to get a CT scan done, EKG, physical. We had to get 2 blood work tests done instead of just 1. I'm trying to think. Yeah, that was pretty much it for medicals. But it was tough to find. It was tough to find places that would just do a CT scan on you just to do a CT scan. So, and we had to get all that stuff done. Oh, and then we had to get a eye exam done by an ophthalmologist, not an optometrist. So, yeah, it was crazy. So we had to get all that stuff done in like the span of a week. So
definitely puts the pressure on.
Yeah, I was running all over the place. The fights, it's crazy. Like, I wasn't stressed out at all about the fight. I was more so like, it was like putting your homework off at the last second, and you're like, I don't know if you've ever done that before, but like you're sitting in the classroom and you've got like the last math problem to do. And you're like, that's how I felt, man. But I actually didn't. But I got everything done. And so we got out there and everything, and it was team versus team. That's the whole MMA Pro League concept, is team versus team. And so we just, like, I guess me and Mark just filled in for the guys that fell out on Team New Jersey. They had like a bunch of guys fall out on Team New Jersey. So like almost half of the team was guys taking the fights on short notice. So we get there.
Pretty crazy. Team New Jersey was half Team Alabama, if you will.
Yeah, like there was two of us were from Bama. Actually, Team Pennsylvania had a guy from Orlando, but we had, I can't remember. Oh, we had Kevin Sears Jr. He's from Colorado. He fought in the main event.
It's just kind of I guess a weird concept branding wise from the promotion standpoint to call them team by two different locations, by not having like your sample of those teams from those spots. I understand with having to fill short notice situations and all that. It's just seems like a very weird strategy, I guess, from a branding point.
Well, what they're trying to do something different. Like they were saying, like, they're gonna have like a draft and all that stuff, because they're going to have, like, what they want is, to start with, is they want, like, 4 teams on the East and, like, 4 teams on the West, and then eventually expand, because the guy that's putting all the money in it is Mark Taffert, who organized Lennox Lewis versus Mike Tyson for HBO.
Okay.
So, I mean, and he's Clarissa Shields' manager, who's the best female boxer in the world. So it's not that they don't have, like, the money or whatever. I mean, they put a lot into it, man, because, I mean, they had uniforms. I mean, the whole 9 yards. I mean, it was crazy for their very first show to have all this stuff. And so
those threads were nice.
Yeah, they were pretty nice, man. The guy actually flew all the way from Jab Apparel, I forget his name right now, that designed all the uniforms, actually flew from the UK to go watch the event. So that was pretty cool. And so we had like uniforms, like all this stuff, man. It was crazy. And so the night of the event, so Dan Miller's the coach for Team New Jersey and Daniel Gracie is the coach for Team Pennsylvania. Right, so but we were planning on having Randy and Mike in the corner, business as usual. But New Jersey comes in, the officials say, "Well, Mike, your paperwork didn't go through to get licensed," and it was like, "What?" Like, but I did it and everything. Something like New Jersey screwed something up, so then he couldn't corner. So then we had Dan Miller fill in for Mike, which. Hey, if I was going to have a substitute corner / substitute teacher, I think Dan Miller, I think he's very qualified to do so.
Very definitely.
So, so he was cool, man. It was cool to get out there, and I'd never been to the East Coast before, so it was cool to go out there and experience new stuff. If you ever plan on going to Atlantic City, stay in the casinos or the boardwalk. Don't venture into town because bad things happen when you do that. So we kind of had a rude awakening of that, like right when we got there. So overall, man, the experience was great. I loved every second of it, man.
That's awesome, man. It looked like, especially on the victory tour, the day after the fight and everything, it looked like you were having the time of your life, man. You were going around Philly, you had yourself some good East Coast pizza before you took off from Jersey down to Philly. Had some Philly cheesesteak, saw the Rocky statue, did the Rocky run in the video. That was awesome, man. I was sitting there, I was just hearing the entire Rocky theme playing right there.
Dude, Philadelphia was awesome, man. So yeah, we saw the Rocky statue, did the Rocky run. It was funny. We were like, okay, we only want to do 3 things, right? When we go back to Philly, because we had like the whole day in Philly, right? So we were like, okay, gotta do the Rocky run, and we gotta take a picture next to the Rocky statue. We gotta see the Liberty Bell, and then we gotta eat a legit Philly cheesesteak, right? And it's funny because like most people are gonna be like, you know, you know, like their priorities are gonna be like to do the top 2 things, right? But we were like, the main event is the Philly cheesesteak. That just tells you about how fighters are. Like when they actually get to like eat good food, like that's gonna be the main event. It's the Philly cheesesteak, and we got to go to Joe's Steaks, which is like the people that like created the Philly cheesesteak.
Nice.
So that's really cool. It was incredible.
That's awesome, man. You know, I like say it's always fun to see just the enjoyment. You know, just to see the excitement across the board. You know, so you had mentioned some of the I guess not so fortunate or good sides of AC. Naturally, AC has a lot of history, good and bad. You know, town that was pretty much put together from mob infrastructure from the past with the casinos and everything. You guys you mentioned a little bit of an interesting run in, or at least Mike did.
You're right. We were bringing a scale with us, but it broke when like it was shattered and everything when I pulled it out of my bag, so we had to get a new scale. So it was kind of funny. We kept having like planes, trains, and automobiles moments throughout the trip. So Mike goes out to a CVS to get a scale. Like he walks there, right? And as he's walking back, these people are like following. These 2 goons are like following him, and he just turns around. And he says, "Y'all about to choose wrong." And then they stop following him after that. It's crazy because it's like you definitely, if there's somebody that you don't want to try, it's probably him because I mean. Forget that, he's got all the experience as a professional fighter and everything, but then you couple that with him being, like, on the Mobile Police Department. I mean, yeah, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah.
Trying to mug him.
Yeah, that would definitely not be an easy day for those guys.
No, not at all, man. But it was pretty cool, like, I mean, yeah, AC had its weirdness, shall we say, but the casino was insane. I mean, I've never been to anything like that before because it used to be the Trump Taj Mahal, but then they did like the Hard Rock like bought it out or something, so
Gotcha.
it became a Hard Rock hotel and casino, but yeah, the building was insane. Like you wouldn't even have to go anywhere. We had free meals. Like we didn't have to pay for anything. It was great.
That's awesome. Can't really beat that then. So I guess if I had to ask a summation question on the AC side, what was your favorite part of Atlantic City? Outside of obviously getting the victory.
Probably the beach and the boardwalk. What kind of sucked was we only had 1 day to really enjoy it because I should have sent you this picture, but it was like the foggiest few days I've ever experienced in my life. I mean, it might have had something to do with like the overcast from the hurricane that hit North Carolina, but I mean, it was like we lived in a cloud. Like I would look outside my window and it was just gray. I couldn't see anything.
Really?
So then the only time we got to go on the beach and walk and kind of really enjoy the boardwalk to its fullest potential was the fight day.
Gotcha.
So, and we just did that because we were tired of being pent up in the hotel room and we wanted to get some sun. I mean, and it was weird because everybody was feeling like shit, and you know, it's weird because a lot of people don't think about like, oh, I'm not, you know, they don't think about underlying causes of why they're feeling like shit, but it's like, well, I get it, we cut weight, but we also haven't had any of that vitamin D from the sun and like for this entire week.
Yep, exactly. No, that's definitely a factor there. Just out of curiosity, have you seen the series Boardwalk Empire?
I have not.
Gotcha.
I've heard nothing but great things about it.
No, it's I haven't seen all of the entire production, but I've seen the first couple of seasons within the series. It's a great show overall, you know. But naturally, just have to ask the question, being that
Right.
It was Atlantic City with the boardwalk, everything there. You know, it's kind of cool though that it still has a lot of that picturesque, like same look that if you were to see a photo of it from back around in that time frame, especially during alcohol prohibition and all of that, when Atlantic City kind of rose its way up, and seeing it now, that picture that you guys had, or I think it might have been Mike that had posted the picture of the boardwalk, but it's cool that it at least still has that feel to it, or I guess the nostalgia to it.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, you keep in mind too all the big fights that have happened there. Like Evander Holyfield won his first world title there. Mike Tyson fought there. I think Evander Holyfield won his first world title in the same building we fought in. You know, and not to mention like all the early UFCs that took place there. It was like Donald Trump. It was the Trump Taj Mahal, and he like let them come fight there. So I mean, it's cool because it's got a lot of history to it. I took a picture of the Levander Johnson statue. That was like it was like next to. It was pretty close to this Tanger outlet mall that we went to in Atlantic City, and it was just kind of cool because it kind of it kind of summed up kind of the feel of the town. Like, dude, the only reason you want to come here is to watch fights, gamble, and party. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, it was awesome, man. Just to go out there and experience something completely different.
Oh yeah, definitely. So then coming back from Philly, you guys ran into some travel woes. Was that because of the hurricanes?
No, it's because we didn't get a crew.
Gotcha. That sounds really sketchy on the airline part.
Yeah, it sucked because, well, what was nice was they could take you into any airport that was like within a certain radius of New Orleans, which is where we were going to fly into. So we would have had to flow. Well, originally what we were planning on was direct flight from Philadelphia to New Orleans, and then we drive 3 hours from New Orleans to Mobile, which we probably would have gotten home at like 2 a.m. So, but when your airline screws up, they give you such a radius. I don't know how many miles it is, but we asked them, hey, can you guys take us to Mobile? Can you guys fly us into Mobile? And they said, yeah, sure. We'll fly you into Charlotte, and then we'll fly you into Mobile. So instead of like a 3-hour direct flight, we ended up just flying like 2 hours right into Mobile. But the problem was we were going to have to board at like 4:30 in the morning, and by the time we got all this done, it was almost 1. So there was no point in even going to a hotel. So we just like crashed in the airport and had our little sleepover in the airport. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, that does not seem comfortable.
No, I maybe slept like 45 minutes.
Well, and then with that, kind of bouncing around with those short little changeovers with your flights, that's not even really enough to kind of, fall asleep or get some rest during those flights either, because by the time that you finally start to, get down, your time to get right back up.
Yeah, but it was nice when we got to Charlotte, we had no layover. We got right on to the next flight.
Right.
So it was So that was nice. I mean, just to get home as soon as possible. I mean, that was great. And then when we got home, our bags didn't make it, but because they sent them to New Orleans, that's where we were supposed to go. So I ended up getting my bag. I don't know how Mark and Mike got their bags, but like I got my bag delivered to me from an independent contractor that American Airlines hires. I got that delivered to me that night, which was nice. So still got my bag, but I was like,
yeah,
I got some stuff in there that I'd like to have.
No, totally. I was gonna say that's got to be stressful. I've personally, knock on wood, I have never had to experience the airline losing something of mine. I've definitely had a lot of friends that have, horror stories on that side of things. Some, or you're fortunate in the sense that you got your stuff back, and two, you got it back that quickly. Where there's some where it's been a thing of more so, well, it was lost and it's just basically kind of a written off type of situation. So that's definitely not an ideal situation there.
Yeah, I flew. I believe it was either Omaha or Kansas City. I flew into, and then I didn't get my bag for. I didn't get my bag for like 3 weeks. So it was like I didn't even get my bag back until I came back home. Oof. Like, so it sucked because that was probably the worst experience because the only thing I had was like the stuff in my my little school backpack and the clothes on my back.
Yeah, that makes it rough.
Yeah. So it was kind of like after that experience, I try not to check as much as I can. But obviously, with what we were doing and how long we were going to stay there, we were going to have to check. We were going to have to check a bag. So, but
yeah. Keep rolling. I'm just going to hit this button real quick.
But onward and upward from here, man. Me and Mark went out to Atlantic City, and put on a show for the fans. Everybody after the fights, they both loved the way me and Mark fought because we both fought tooth and nail. We weren't looking for a way out. We never backed down from our opponents. Even though Mark didn't get the victory, man, he still fought hard. And he still pretty much had the guy knocking on the door of it unconsciousness in the third round. So, but
how's his knee?
Huh?
Was it his knee that he had hurt?
Yeah, so he threw a kick and it got checked, and then his knee, I didn't know where his thigh ended and his knee began.
Gotcha.
When we were walking the airport, and so I don't know if he's gotten it checked out yet or anything. I just haven't talked to Mark. I mean, we talked obviously when we went to Philadelphia and stuff and went on the airport and everything, but I kind of find after somebody has lost a fight, even though it could have been even though Mark, he might have gotten hometown, but I just try to leave those guys alone as much as I can, man, just because there's no matter what you say, when somebody loses a fight, no matter what you say, it almost just makes it. I know it's weird. It almost makes it worse. It's weird.
No, I could totally understand that. It's a fragile state of mind that you find yourself in at that point.
But what was great was Mark was the first fight of the night, and he came back, and he was like, "Hey man, go out there and take care of business," and then after my fight, man, he had no, what I mean. He was there. He was happy, to see us go out there and get a victory because I mean it's a team. It's an individual sport, but you can't do it alone. You need training partners. You need coaches. So in a way, each of our victories is kind of everybody's victory, if that makes sense, because we all played a part in getting somebody to that point.
Right.
You know, whether it's from the coaching side or the training partner side, pushing each other to the brink. So, I mean, we really, you know, we at Port City MMA, we got like a small group of fighters, man, but we're tight, man. We want nothing but the best for each other, man, and we go out there every show. We always go into enemy territory. We go out into enemy territory. A lot of times promoters try to set us up to lose, and we go in there and kick the other guys' asses anyways. I mean, usually we put them out, like we put them away, but me and Mark just, you know, sometimes guys are just tough, you know. I mean, if Mark had maybe 30 more seconds, he probably you know, sent that dude to the hospital. I mean, but you know, just this time we weren't able to get the finishes, but, you know, next time, you know, that, you know, me and Mark, you know, Mike Barnett or any Justin Prescott, Aaron Dearman, or Kenny Gover step into the cage, man, we're gonna go out there, we're gonna put on a show, we're gonna put our guys away more times than not.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, and then the thing is too is, you know, when watching your fight, you know, it's there's definitely a couple of moments there where you could tell that, you know, you were definitely in the very established and controlling dominant position, but the fact that you could not throw elbows, which is, to me, it's insane within a pro promotion that you were not able to throw elbows, and also in which the fashion that you were told that you couldn't throw them just right before the fight, basically. But with that being said, there were a couple of times where, you know, you had him in a clinch, you had him down on the ground up against the cage. If you could have just thrown a couple of elbows, that could have been right then and there, lights out.
Yeah, man. I mean, in the first round, I hurt him to the body really bad, and then when I had him in the tie plum, and he was covering his body like kind of like in a straitjacket. Like he was covering his body with his arms, which is totally bullshit defense. Because you're going to get hit with an elbow. All you have to do is, right, if I have this tie plum, you know, if somebody does something like that, all you got to do is just turn it over like that and instantly. And then when I hit the takedown and got the guy, he was in half guard. Yeah, but the problem was when I landed the takedown, basically his arm was like right next to the fence, like when it landed, so I couldn't get the underhook on that side that I needed to get like full on control. But if I was able to elbow him, all I would have to, because the elbow is like the shortest range weapon you have.
Right.
You don't need a lot of room to get a lot of power on an elbow. So I would have been able to elbow with my left arm, but instead I was just like, what can I do? I can only really cross face and kind of hold on here, you know, because, you know, it is what it is. But it was crazy because after our weigh-in, everybody weighed in and everything, and the promoter, Hani Darwish, he tells everybody, he said, by the way, guys, nobody can throw elbows, as everybody's walking out of the weigh-in, and we all just stop. It was like, you know, cue like the record scratcher sound effect. We all stop and like look around. We were like, what? He was like, yeah, man, yeah, we can't throw elbows, like, and we were just like, why? Like, I know that's not a New Jersey thing, because, I mean, the UFC just had a show in Atlantic City, like, this year. So we were like, this is weird. But apparently MMA Pro League, like promotions can change the rules if they want to, right? Like, kind of like Pride had no elbows, but you could soccer kick. MMA Pro League just said, you know, no elbows, because apparently their promotional format is they want to do like a season, right? Like kind of a regular season and that playoff system, right? And obviously elbows cut fighters. You know, it's just what it is. So that's why they told us we couldn't elbow, even though this was kind of like their very first show and their kind of like pilot episode, if you will. So that was a little weird because then I got called for throwing an elbow in the fight, which it was just a right hook off the break.
Oh, that's some bullshit.
Yeah.
I love Mike's commentary.
Dude, the funniest part was when they were reading off the split decision, and he said, "These guys can't judge a hot dog eating contest, a pie eating contest, or a spelling bee."
Yeah, I was dying laughing.
Because the craziest part was everybody there was actually a lot of media there. It was crazy. Combat Insider, Sherdog, a few other forums were there, and I was able to go around the media row, and I was like, how'd you score the fight? Every one of them scored at 30-27 for myself, and I'm like, okay, because the reason I asked that is just because when you watch your own fight, you're going to be biased, right? Mm-hmm. You're just going to have that. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And I also asked Dan Miller in the cage. I was like, "What'd you think?" Before they read the decision, he said, "At least 2-1, at least 2-1 us." Yeah. So two of the judges gave it to me 2-1, and one of the judges gave it to him 2-1, which was weird because for a guy that said he was going to take my soul before the fight and that I wouldn't last half a round and that I was shook, I think my coach, Randy James, he said, this guy's going to have an oh shit moment. And I think the entire fight he had that oh shit moment because he was backing up the entire fight.
Yep.
And, you could just I could see in the look in his eyes, he was like, man, I just want the last round to happen. I just want to hit 0-0 in round 3, but it's just, and you could just tell he wasn't very confident in his striking because, he would throw everything with everything he had, and then he had by the third round, tail end of the second round, probably a quarter of the way through the second round, he had no juice left in his striking because we executed our game plan flawlessly. The game plan was to throw a lot of volume on him, not try to knock him out necessarily at first, but just to pour on the pace. And then I made in-fight adjustments, when I saw what we could do, what I could do to him, because we knew he's a Renzo Gracie brown belt, he's no joke on the ground or whatever. So, but a lot of the guys he fought were trying to just have a jiu-jitsu match with him,
Makes sense.
basically. So we were like, this guy is not going to be comfortable if he has to stand with me. But then, in the middle of the fight, I land a double leg takedown, and then I feel him on the ground, and I'm like, I don't care where this guy gets his training from. I can take him on the ground too. So then, I'm landing double legs, and then we didn't really plan to clinch him that much, but I just found so much success with it because he wasn't doing anything in the clinch. It was just such a blowout. I was like, I can just keep coming back to this, and I can control him, and I can just keep firing knees and just zapping him. So that was one thing we weren't planning on. We weren't planning on doing as much wrestling and clinch work, but it was just something that it was organic and just happened to work.
Right.
Because he was throwing he would wind up he would keep trying to wind up this big overhand right. So then I would either clinch him or shoot the double leg on him, and it worked. It worked pretty much every single time. So it was just nice because we had a short camp. We put together a game plan. We actually, they actually switched my opponent up 10 days before the fight. So, but then we were like, oh, the same game plan is going to work on this guy anyway. So, it was nice. It was kind of cool to have a game plan, follow the game plan, and then make small adjustments to the game plan. And then, to have it come out like that. I mean, obviously, in a perfect world, we get our finish. Right. But, they say don't leave it in the hands of the judges. But, when your guy has a cinder block for a head and can walk through head kicks, what are you going to do?
That question mark kick was something of specialty, man. That was a beautiful display of technique.
Yeah, it was. that he kept blocking the kicks, and his hands would kind of drop kind of before they got to his head after he'd block. So I kind of recognized that. So I hit him with a body kick, and then I hit him then I went with a head kick, and he blocked it that same way. So I was like, okay, I know I can hit this. I know I can hit the question mark kick. So then, so it's like he blocks, right? And then he was dropping his hands like this after he blocked, and you can see on the I watched it, and he did just like this, whoop, and then the kick, instead of coming like underneath like this, kick went over the top like here, and just.
Yep.
So, I just think one thing was he just had never experienced any adversity. He had never had somebody put him in an uncomfortable situation in his entire career, which was only 3 amateur fights. That's not a lot that's just not a lot of experience, man. And his team, they thought since he was a brown belt under Renzo Gracie, and Daniel Gracie, that they were just going to wipe the floor with me with grappling, and it's just like, dude, this is an MMA fight, man. I don't know what you guys think this is, but this is an MMA fight. And so it was kind of, in the cage, he was, he was very respectful to me in the cage, but then afterwards he kind of disrespected me again. So that kind of, you let bygones be bygones and stuff, but, it's like, you gotta, he definitely needed a taste of some humble pie, and he's not taking it very well. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I know he had made the statement of, with the judges and about how they didn't know how to judge and all of that. But, to retort, I guess, what fight were you watching? If anything, if the judges needed to be educated, it would be in your favor and against him. So, it would be to say that, that should have been not a split decision. That should have been a unanimous decision.
Yeah, in all 3 rounds. Because I have a friend of mine that used to do CompuBox numbers, and he's going to actually watch the fight and count the strikes, because he was like, dude, I know you landed way more. You landed more significant strikes. He landed a few good shots, I'll give him that. And he landed a slick Kimura trap move to me in the first round, But it's like, okay, dude, so you got outstruck. I landed more takedowns. You got out-wrestled. And, you got out-grappled, too, because when you took me down, I popped right back up, dude. Whereas I took you down, you couldn't get up initially. And you had it all in your favor to get up, and you couldn't get up. And it was because I made certain adjustments. When I was in the half guard, I knew I couldn't use the underhook. So Pat Miletich pointed it out, and he said, oh, Renzo, that's pretty smart of him to, because Renzo Gracie was doing guest commentary for that fight, but his mic wasn't working. He's like, Renzo, that's pretty smart what Osborn's doing with his legs. I kind of triangled my legs to kind of hold his leg down. So, so you got out grappled too, dude. I beat you at your game, and I beat you in every other phase of the fight. Effective striking, effective grappling, cage control. Whose back was on the cage?
Right.
Back was on the cage getting kneed. So, and who hit the deck more with takedowns, you or me? So, it's crazy, man, because I lost. My one loss was a split decision, but it kind of made me go back and read what I said, because I was like, I know I handled defeat a lot better. And sure enough, I said in the fight, I was like, hey man, I lost a very close fight via split decision, but I'm not going to make any excuses. And the next time I step into the cage, I'll be the best fighter I've ever been. And my opponent the guy I fought actually liked the post, because you can, you know what I mean? Like that's just like, I'm not like trying to toot my own horn or anything, but you can even see with like, you say what you want about Conor McGregor, but the way he handled that loss against Nate Diaz, or Dominic Cruz when he handled that loss against Cody Garbrandt, like those are the ways you handle defeat.
Mm-hmm.
You're not like Ronda Rousey is like an example of somebody that couldn't handle defeat. You're putting a bag over your head when you're getting home from Australia, It's like, just face the music. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I can sit there and disagree with the judges all I want to, but at the end of the day, I mean, at the end of the day, if I didn't put you away, I mean, it's it's almost a gamble at that point.
Right. No, totally understandable, and that's always. I don't know if it's still up there at the UFC training facility or at the where they have the Contender Series and all of that now. But I remember in the past, just from watching old series of Tough, they're right out of as you were going out the door to enter in, it said don't leave it in the judge's hands.
Yeah,
that was just like a posted quote, like that last sort of little like vision board thing as you're walking out. Like everybody has their things for some of the different franchises out there. Notre Dame has your play like a champion today. Yeah. The Yankees have theirs. So there's that was the UFC's version of it. Is don't leave it in the judge's hands type of situation. So hey, every now and then though it does get to that point.
Yeah, and you could even see like my reaction to the decision. Like I was like, once I asked Dan Miller that, like, what did you think? He's like 2-1, at least 2-1 us. And Dan Miller, I literally met Dan Miller that week. He does not have to be biased to me. He can tell me the 100% truth, undivided truth, like the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and I can handle the truth. So that was good. But then I knew when they were taking a long time to get the cards and stuff. That's how you know it's a split decision, because the ring announcer, he has to really, take his time and make sure he gets the scorecards right, because, my buddy Mike Barnett, he won a fight. Well, it was announced at one of his amateur fights that he won a fight by split decision, right? Then they got into the locker room and the commission was like, no, Mike, you actually lost that fight.
So just because he announced it wrong.
Right, so that's why they take a long time with that's how you know it's going to be a split decision, because they have to take a long time and make sure, like, okay, so, this judge said this judge scores it this way, this judge scores it this way, so that way they don't screw something up like that. So that's how I knew it was a split decision. You could just see in my eyes, like, I just closed my eyes, man, and I'm like, he's more so like, you can see in his facial expression, he was more so like, oh man, I hope I lucked out of this one and I got a win. Like, you could just see in the look in his eyes, like he was like, man, I hope that they give it. I hope they give it to me, even though I don't deserve it. Whereas I'm like, got my eyes closed and I'm like, damn it, if the judges don't give it to me, like, damn it, like, you know what I mean?
I'm gonna burn this motherfucker down if they didn't give it to me.
Yeah, I know, man. So, yeah, man, but it's always, it's tough because everybody wants to finish, but sometimes it's just not going to happen, man.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Well, hey, that's the way that the game goes, though. You'll come back and you'll be even stronger, and looking to finish in the next go round. So, with that being said, what is next? Do you have a timeline set for when you're looking to potentially step back in, or just kind of waiting for the right call to come?
So, right now, I have to take some time off. I didn't take too many shots in the fight. I took a few good shots, but I don't have I don't have like a concussion or anything like that. But my opponent gave me this is the second straight time it's happened to me, man. My pro debut, I come out of there and I'm all right, but then I get a ringworm infection. I'm like, that wasn't there before I had a fight. And then, when I came back, I came back from the airport, right, from Mobile, right, and like right when I got into my car, I was like, dude, something's not right, like with my elbow. Like I got to go to the doctor now, right? Because I had like a scrape on my elbow, right? I don't know if it was from the fight or whatever, right? I had a scrape on my elbow, right, and the skin had it healed up, right, but there was like a lump. So I go to the doctor, and they determined I had a cellulitis infection, which is like cellulitis is basically like the stage before it's like a staph infection. So right now I'm on antibiotics and stuff, but so I got to sit out maybe 2, maybe even 3 weeks to even get back to training, just because I want to keep myself, not only myself safe, but my training partners safe. So with that being said, once I get back in there and everything, right now I'm looking at December, January. I'll fight in November, but it has to be something too good to turn down.
Right.
But one thing that's not going to happen is it's not going to be like I'm not taking a step back, right? So I'm not going to fight regionally and then go fight locally. It's only going to be a progression from here. So whether it's like, King of the Cage or LFA or something like that, that's what's going to be next.
That's awesome, man. Well,
yeah.
The thing is you have a very clear direction on where it is that you're wanting to go. So I think that's half of the battle that most people can't ever find themselves at. You know where it is that you are, where you're currently at, and what is next. So that's definitely a hats off moment to you in that, to know exactly what needs to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's one thing if you like lose, then you can say like, okay, I need to take a step back. I need to I need to work on some things and reevaluate everything. And it's just because another thing, my Nick Pertella of Combat Insiders, he told me he's like, I asked Dan Miller after your fight, how do you prepare for a guy like Justin? And Dan Miller's like, I don't know. I don't know. So if a guy like Dan Miller is saying, I don't know how I would prepare to fight somebody like Justin, that means you're well on your way, and so I've got big goals, I've got big aspirations, but my thing is we've reviewed it. I'm going to actually go review the fight with my head coach, Randy James, and me and Mike have already kind of reviewed it. And, what we talked about was like, hey, man, what you're doing right now, you're on the right track. You just need to get better at what you're doing. It's not like I need to make drastic changes like, hey, dude, your jab cross is ugly. It looks terrible. You need to clean up your punching form. Or you need to clean up your kicking form or whatever, or you need to, or what have you, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like I need to make, dramatic changes to my game.
Just to sharpen the sword.
Yeah, exactly. I just need to sharpen the sword, and so with that, I mean, I'm just going to come into the next fight and I'm going to be even better. And like I said, like I've said before, man, the competition brings the best out of me, so like I said, when I don't take a step back and I'm taking, another step forward, right, I don't know what it is about how I fight, but it really I bring it. It's almost like if I was in it's almost like, like Kelvin Gastelum fights, he's not the fastest guy. He's not the biggest guy, especially at 185, right? But when he just gets in the cage, he just knows how to bring the heat, man. I'm kind of cut from that similar cloth where once I get in the cage, doesn't matter who I'm fighting. Doesn't matter if they're, where they come from or what their strengths and weaknesses are. I can go in there and I can you know, I can go in there and beat them, because it's like weird. Like, I practice like shit compared to how I fight. Like, it's weird. Like, there's certain things I'll do in fights, and I'll be like, man, where the hell did that come from? Right? But then on fight night, it just happens, man. So, yeah, so I'm looking forward to the future, man. I've got a lot of projects coming out too. Like, my Twitch channel is going to get started very soon, man. Like, I've got almost all the components ready, man. Actually, maybe I'll just take you in so you can actually check it out for yourself, man. That's Oreo right there. My roommate's cat.
Nice.
He's a little diva. This is just kind of a storage room, but so bear with me. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing, but that's just because we throw whatever we got.
No, you're good.
So this right here is my gaming computer. This thing is like a sports car. It's like a Ferrari for computers, man.
Okay.
And this is a Wi-Fi adapter, obviously. I mean, and then these are some headphones, and then obviously gaming keyboard. You have to have like a raised border for a gaming keyboard, just so that way you don't hit two buttons at the same time. Ooh, it lights up. And obviously webcam. And a Yeti mic. Elgato Stream Deck. Elgato capture card. Obviously, that's a second monitor, right?
Right.
So I'm actually going to second tower.
Second tower, yeah. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
So I'm actually going to get a second monitor that's just like this to go with this tower, and so. A lot of people may be asking, like, why do you need two towers? Like, why do you need all this stuff? It's because it's so that way, like, the gaming computer now, all it has to do is play the games, right? Whereas the streaming tower, all the streaming tower has to do is just stream. So with that, it makes the stream smooth, because you don't have one computer that's trying to do everything. Makes total sense. So the capture card, like I was telling you about earlier, that renders what happens in the gaming computer, and sends it over to the streaming computer. So if you check this baby out, it's crazy. It all lights up. It's all pretty and stuff. So
that is a giant tower.
Yeah, it is, man. And what's nice about having a tower like this is it's so big. So if I want to add different components, like right now it runs 1080p. Like it runs 1080p, but if I wanted to like upgrade to 4K, for example, it can do that. Like I could do that. I just take out one part, put another part in, whatever. Like I can add different gadgets and gadgets to it as I, advance, with the Twitch stuff. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to. I know that I'm going to go watch Mike's fight, not this weekend, but the next weekend. It'll be on Fight Pass for Island Fights. And then PFL, I'm going to go to the PFL show in New Orleans. So I may get to, catch up with Mark Montoya and those guys, because Steven Seiler's fighting on that show.
Number 1 seed.
Yeah, number 1 seed, man. Look at him. He's like a 15-1 underdog in his first fight?
Yeah, he's been crushing it all. He's a great dude. Very humble across the board. I met him at Open Mat a couple of weeks ago, and just had to shake his hand. Hey man, I've been a big fan of you ever since I saw you on Tough back in the day when he was there when it was Bisping against Mayhem. I think it was like season 14, something like that.
Yeah. So what's crazy about Steven, man, is I actually I've trained with Kurt Hullabaugh, right? And Kurt fought Steven Seiler in his UFC debut, So it's like weird how like you fight when you go around and you train and stuff, you know, you get to see like the differences in between a few fighters and stuff, and Steven is like, oh man, you train with Kurt and blah blah and those guys down there. That's awesome, man. Kurt's a great guy and everything. It's like man, what a cool guy, man. It just shows you, man, you don't have to be a douchebag to your opponent, like it's like that's like really like it says a lot about a person that can like that knows like, hey, it's just business, Right. Just because we're punching each other in the face doesn't mean we can't be like peers and be
professionals, if you will.
Yeah, professionals and cordial. Like, hey, man, what's good fight and blah blah blah. So it's really cool, man, to get both perspectives. So yeah, I'm gonna go to the PFL show in October. It's like October 5th in New Orleans. So I'm looking forward to that, just because I've never been to any of their shows, but I heard they do a great job, and I've seen some of their. I've gotten a chance to catch some of their stuff on TV. It's just like it comes at weird times in the day. It'd usually be like, oh, I'm done training. What's on the tube? And I was like, oh, MMA's on the tube. I'll watch some of that.
Yeah.
So,
I'm a fan of what PFL's doing. I like that format, the way that they have it. With the different points. With how the fight is won, when the fight is won, all of those things that stack up as far as the bracket goes. I like that. It just like we kind of talked about with with the promotion that you fought for, trying to have something that's a little bit of a different flavor to kind of have some differentiation. I think that's cool what they have going on.
I think that was really cool because it's like unlike the Bellator used to do these tournaments, right? And they were like long ass tournaments. They were hard to keep up with, and it didn't make sense like how the fighters were seated, But what PFL did was awesome, man. You had a regular season. You get so many points for a finish in whatever round, right? And then that determines what seed you get, man. And the thing about it is, it's not like the number one seed is gonna go in there and smoke everybody, right? Because it's MMA, anything can happen, man. Anything can happen, dude. So, but it's a totally merit-based system. It's not who talks the most shit gets the title shot. You go in there and you win your fights, you're going to get a shot at the title and that $1 million prize, man.
Yeah. So that's the best part about it is you do it based off of what you have accomplished in that way. So, I mean, then it's kind of cool because you've seen I don't want to necessarily say like a resurgence, but you've been able to see the the prolonging of some of these guys' careers that might have ran into some contract negotiation issues with maybe the UFC or with Bellator, or were in between and we're kind of needing that next step like Bojan from Velikovic.
Bojan Velikovic from LB team.
Yep. So, guys like that, getting to see like him, getting to see Vinny Magalise, guys like that, you the name and you've seen him before on some of these other bigger cards and promotions. Steve Seiler being another one who's gone out and dominated. Right. It's cool to see another avenue for these guys outside of, the big two, if you will.
Right. And, I think Will Brooks is a really good example of that. He wins the lightweight championship in Bellator and pretty much pisses off the entire brass and says, I don't want to fight here anymore. Release me from my contract. Goes to the UFC and things do not go well for him in the UFC. And so he burnt a bridge with Bellator, which is not a really good business decision. Like, you're a professional. If you sign your contract, fight it out, whatever. You know what I mean? But that's his problem. But at least he has somewhere, a guy like Will Brooks, who's really talented and has beaten Michael Chandler twice, he's got somewhere to go, and it's good. it's always good for fighters to have more places to go to, man. It's always good to keep your options open because I mean you just never know what the future holds, man. Like things can be going great for you, and then all of a sudden they take a turn, or like you fight out your contract, and then you're a free agent. Just to have one more entity that can instead of it's just UFC or Bellator, now you got PFL in there, and some guys. The thing about PFL too, man, is it's kind of like betting on yourself. You're like, I know that I'm badass, and I'm gonna put it on the line and see if I can't get that $1 million cash prize.
Yep.
So it's kind of like if you really the thing about the PFL guys, man, they're really confident, man, because there's not how do I put it? There's no guarantees, man, with that, man. So it's like you're really PFL is like the stakes are even higher because you're really putting it on the line.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas if you're in the UFC or Bellator, obviously they're putting a lot on the line over there too, but it's you know what you're going to get paid.
Right.
You get this much to show, this much to win. Whereas PFL, it's man, it's the possibility that it just keeps going up and up and up and up. So that's a really cool concept, man. And I hope nothing but the best for that promotion, man. It's good for fighters if it's able to keep going with the momentum that they have, and but like I said, to sum it all up, it's just competition's better for everybody, man.
Absolutely, and the fact that they've been picked up within the, granted, it's not like it's a complete new promotion. It's basically the rebranding of World Series of Fighting. But the fact that with new formatting, all that sort of stuff in that mix, new branding as far as the public space recognition, for that to be picked up, I believe it airs on NBC Sports Network, if I'm not mistaken. For it to be picked up by one of the big media conglomerates in that respect through one of their channels, that to me, that says a lot about where the sport is at as a whole and how much that it is really truly growing. Because if you were to take that back, run that back 5 years, would that be something that would even be a conversation?
Yeah, who knows, man? I mean, you got guys like Kevin Hart and Tony Robbins that are investors in the PFL. I mean, so there's people out there that believe in it, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then the other thing too is the whole rebrand. People want to say oh, the whole rebranding thing is corny. We still know it's World Series of Fighting, blah blah blah. I'm like, you could say that, but it's not World Series of Fighting anymore because it's completely changed. Why should I stick with the brand that I have when what I'm selling to the public is something completely different? So yeah, I'm totally behind. I totally get why they rebranded and everything, man. I mean, it's cool. If you're selling okay, if I'm McDonald's, right, and I'm just okay, I'm gonna stop selling Big Macs and McDoubles and whatever, and I'm gonna start selling burritos and tacos and stuff. You wouldn't call that McDonald's anymore. You call that Taco Bell. It's the same thing.
Or IHOB.
Yeah.
I still don't necessarily agree with that. I go to IHOP is a cultural icon almost in that respect. Right. You're gonna change it to IHOB. I haven't personally seen if there's been any of them physically changed in that space. I know that the one that's in my neighborhood up here in northern Colorado hasn't changed yet. But just IHOB, that doesn't even that just doesn't even ring. Good. Doesn't even sound good.
Yeah, it's IHOP is if I just compared the two names, IHOP is, I don't know, man. It rings off the tongue. It's catchy, because hop is actually a word, so it just makes sense, right?
Right. Well, and let me ask you this question, in your entire life, have you ever gone to IHOP? Because obviously, all this spurned from before they'd made the changeover. Have you ever gone to an International House of Pancakes IHOP establishment and ordered a burger, or with the intention of ordering a burger?
Hell no.
No!
Oh.
You're going to go to a fucking Red Robin. You're going to go to some place that serves burgers for their specialty, if that is what your intention is.
If I want a good gourmet burger, I'm going to go to Red Robin or something like that.
Yes! I'm not going to IHOP.
Yeah, it's just stupid, man. It's like kind of what Brendan Schaub says, man. Stay in your lane.
Yep.
Your lane, man. Like, it's not even like I don't even think IHOP is like, to me, from the outside looking in, like, I mean, I'm not a stockholder or anything like that, but I think they're doing pretty good.
And that's the only thing that I said when I had this conversation with a buddy of mine at one point. I don't know enough of what their financial situation is to know if they were doing that poorly to where they had to have that drastic of a rebranding to completely change what people associate you as.
Yeah, it's like, how long has IHOP been around, man? Like, I mean...
Like, I think of Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity. I don't think of a fucking cheeseburger.
Right, exactly. I mean, you got a Waffle House over there on the other side of the aisle, and they're just like, yeah, dude, like, we're here for you. If you need your hangover cure after a long night of partying, our special chocolate with a chocolate chip waffle, we're right here, man. Like, they know what they're doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm always going to prefer IHOP over Waffle House, even if it's IHOB, But it's just funny, man, because I'm sitting there like, I think they're doing pretty good, man, but you just never know. I mean, or like, there's so many examples of this weird... There's so many examples of rebranding. Like, Kid Rock is like the one that like comes to mind, man. Like, he's like, now he's like a southern redneck and stuff, but it's like, dude, you were like a rap rocker from Detroit, Michigan, dude. Mm-hmm. You're talking about singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long. I'm like, what? Like, this doesn't even make sense.
Right.
Just like how IHOP doesn't make any sense, And I got a buddy of mine who I don't know why, but he just loves Kid Rock, and I always give him shit about it. But, like, it's just like, and you'd be surprised how much that happens, man. Like, and it's just like, just the changing of your brand, it changes almost everything drastically, because World Series of Fighting, they were kind of a dying promotion, and then they rebranded, and now they have all this momentum. You got guys like Rick Story, right, who was a free agent and could have re-signed with the UFC, because he had gotten big wins over like Gunnar Nelson and Johnny Hendricks and stuff like that, and he says, nah, man, I'm going to go over to PFL. I mean, that says a lot, man, that somebody would, somebody like him who was like top 10, he was top 10 and as a welterweight in the world, he says, no, man, I'm going to go over to these guys. That's pretty, that says a lot, and that he didn't go over to Bellator even, man. What do you think about Bellator putting on a show in Hawaii, man? That's pretty gnarly.
I am very, very happy that there is finally being a big promotion being put on out in Hawaii. I've got a couple of buddies out there. Shout out to Martin the Spartan Day. He's a Hawaiian fighter that's out there. He's trying to rally his own cause to get put on to that card, which hopefully he gets the call. He was on the Contender Series at one point. He's riding a winning streak right now. But he had mentioned about how tough it is for Hawaiian fighters to get the opportunities just because of being so far away. I hope that it serves as a platform to let a lot of that local talent down there in the island shine. because there's a lot of just absolute warriors down there. You know, he put up a picture, or he put up a video, yesterday of him rolling in practice. I believe it was at Hawaii Elite MMA, but I can't remember the exact spot that they were at. He was with Blessed. He was with Max Holloway. So, you know, these guys are a very tight-knit group down in Hawaii, and they are all fucking tough.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, they have that warrior spirit. It's just embedded in their culture, man. They're a fighting culture. I forget. I'm not gonna sit here and speak. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I don't know exactly what the haka ritual stands for. But I know Mark Hunt does it before every one of his fights, so it must mean something to the effect of like, I'm getting ready for battle.
Yeah, and that's I don't know how much that relays directly into the Hawaiian side of things, outside of maybe some of them that have it's more of a New Zealand thing.
Okay.
Yeah, with because there's the rugby teams and all of that will do it from there. So I don't know how much tie over that it has that far over. I know that probably some of the Samoan influence does too.
Right. I know The Rock, he's put up some videos of, like, people, like, he's him doing, like, the haka and stuff, like,
right.
Something similar. Like, I mean, so you can just tell, like, man, those guys, man, they have a fighting culture. Like, they love, like there's, like,
they're about the scrap, for sure.
They know how to scrap, but they have a distinct culture that's different from everywhere else in the United States, man.
Oh yeah.
It's like Hawaii is almost like, I mean, each state in the United States is kind of like its own country, but like Hawaii just seems like it's like a different continent.
Yep.
So I think it's cool, man, just because, I mean, what fighter isn't gonna want to go to Hawaii? Like,
oh yeah.
You know, you get guys like. You know, you got Lyoto Machida fighting Rafael Carvalho, who was the former champ. And then, dude, Ed Ruth is doing his first round welterweight tournament fight there, man. Ed Ruth and Neiman Gracie, man. So what they're not doing, man, is they're not just putting Ilima McFarlane as the main event and then giving you a shit undercard.
Right.
You know, just because, like, they're not, like, saying, like, oh, we're going to Hawaii and, you know, since we're going to Hawaii, I mean, since they're going to Hawaii, the people are going to show up regardless. I mean, it's a big show, and there hasn't been big shows in Hawaii since, like, Rumble on the Rock and Super Brawl, right? So people are going to show up regardless. So they didn't have to go through the extra steps of getting a Lyoto Machida down there, or of, you know, putting a first-round welterweight tournament Grand Prix fight down there. I mean, it's awesome, man. It's what they're doing right there. That's pretty awesome. I mean, I think that welterweight Grand Prix is interesting, man.
I agree.
Like, I'm saying I don't even know who to pick. I don't even know who to pick because their 170 stacks up with the UFC's 170. You just can't get around that, man. And I'm saying, like, Ed Ruth is the dark horse. Like, I know a lot of people haven't seen his fights, but his coaches and his management have taken the time to really develop him into what he is today. Like, he took nothing but prelim fights, like, on Bellator.com. But I would go back, because I would see, like, highlights of his, man. So I went back and watched a couple of his fights, man. And you could just see the progression from every fight. Like, he was, like, his first couple fights in Bellator, he would kind of take guys down and kind of ground and pound them. But now he's knocking guys out cold on the feet. You know, and he's already got the wrestling pedigree, and he's got freak athleticism. So, like, that freak athleticism and that wrestling pedigree, he's already, you know, almost caught up. But now his coaches gave him like 7 or 8 fights to really just develop. I don't know how many fights it is, 7 or 8 or something like that. They gave him that time to develop, man. So I really think he's a dark horse and could win the whole tournament, man, because nobody in that bracket is as, like, maybe Douglas Lima, you know.
Mm-hmm.
that's who me and Mike are rooting for. We're Douglas Lima guys, just because
I like Lima.
He's been so cool to Mike. You know, when he goes over to Atlanta and stuff. So, so we're kind of rooting for Lima, but you just never know, dude. Like Lima Korshkov 3,
right?
That's gonna be fun. Of course, Paul Daly and Michael Venom Page. I think
I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. You know, nobody's shooting a takedown in that fight.
No.
You know, nobody's gonna. Neither one of those guys. You know, it's like it'd be like if they had put John Fitch against Michael Venom Page, or like they did, like they put John Fitch against Paul Daly, and it's just like, okay, guys, do you guys hate putting butts in the seats? I mean, John Fitch, you have to respect him for what he's done, man. Like, you can't, but it's like, people want to see exciting fights, you know, and you put two strikers like that together that you know are not going to shoot a takedown, that's huge, man. I mean, and...
Now, hopefully it fits exactly what you're saying, because, you know, I know through us just talking back and forth, we shared this same excitement over the Francis and Derek Lewis fight that turned into a complete snooze fest. So hopefully the vitriol that's been built up between Semtex and MVP, hopefully all of those things combine for the perfect storm of an absolute war in there. I'm excited to see this matchup. This is one that I've been waiting for a while on the Bellator end of things. I'm not sure why it's taken them this long to make it happen, but I'm glad that they finally are. You know, yeah. I definitely think that, you know, and Bellator, they've been pretty smart with the way that they've been trying to build the star power of MVP.
Yeah.
You know, I think that they've kind of, not to say that they gave him the Connor treatment, if you will, like by giving him a couple of, teed up opportunities, because you never know what's going to happen. He still had to go in there and execute. But you could argue that there was a couple of those matchups that it's like, man, you could totally tell that this guy is already in a complete different class, different level from his opponent. So I'm finally excited to see him against another top level, a known name that has a lot of experience in the game that you know is going to be tough.
Yeah, and is going to be able to trade with him on the feet. You know, he's at the same level as him. Well, right now, as we know it, we know Paul Daly's on the same level as MVP on the feet, you know. And you think about MVP's last fight, who did he fight? He fought David Rickles. David Rickles, man, he's been in the game for so long, dude. Like, he's tough as nails, you know, but he's a lightweight. He goes up to welterweight. He's a lightweight who went up to welterweight, and I think he had some kind of injury going into the fight, so he was moving slow, and, you know, he's getting hit with shots, and then he got his jaw broken, and he said, I'm done. You know, so now it's going to be interesting for the fans to see MVP against somebody that is like somebody that can match his level on the feet, you know. So I'm looking forward to that. And then with the UFC, man, obviously everybody's looking forward to the Conor Khabib fight. I think Conor's going to knock him out in the first couple of round one or two. He's going to knock him out. But if Khabib was to go in there and dominate him on the floor with takedowns and ground and pound and maybe get him out of there, I wouldn't be surprised either, man, because they're both each other's kryptonite. It just depends on who, on that night, it depends on who executes.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you there. I agree completely with your analysis on that. That's one of the toughest fights for me to make a prediction or to say who I think is going to take it, and I can't remember, how long. If I'm just looking at it as objectively as possible, take away all of the hoopla outside of the cage and just looking at those two guys, just as you said, they are each other's kryptonite. Where Khabib has shown vulnerability is two power strikes from the left hand. Well, Conor just happens to in the lightweight division happens to throw the most thunderous left hand in the entire division. if he wears a shot like he did from Michael Johnson, that could be good night. Especially if he walks around holding his hands down at his waist with his chin high the way that he did against Ali Aquinta, that might not be a good night. But then I look at it from the reverse end of things to see that the way that, and granted, Conor was injured in the fight, but Chad Mendes also took that fight on extremely short notice to see how essentially, I don't want to say took him down at will, but it was not a very hard takedown for Mendes to secure.
Yeah, it wasn't like McGregor down blocked or sprawled.
So that being said, knowing the level of wrestling that Khabib has, it's going to be, if he can get him down, it's going to be tough. But I also do, like you said, it may be a finish even if it doesn't come in the first, could be in the second. If Conor can weather the storm, even if he does get taken down in that first, you still got to get back up after a round to start another one.
Yeah, and the reason I go with Conor is fights start on the feet. If the fight started on the mat, I'd probably pick Khabib. And the other reason I pick Conor too is because Khabib needs to clinch to get takedowns. Like, he doesn't use like a blast double leg like Chad Mendes does. Like, you'll notice him, he'll like kind of get like that double leg and then he'll go up into a clinch and then he'll hit a trip or throw. Where he double legs guys is when he gets them onto the fence and then he'll go down for a double leg. So he doesn't really get double legs out in space. And you could see when he fought Iaquinta, Iaquinta was able to get out of a lot of single leg attempts from Khabib in that I can't remember. He missed a lot of takedowns against Ali Quinta, He did. And the thing about it is, I've told people this a bunch of times, Khabib gets tired. He gets tired so fast because he has to grapple so hard. Like, he has to try so hard to take guys down. Like, the two most exhausting things in a fight are getting a takedown and getting up off the bottom. So if push comes to shove and Conor's able to manipulate him with his footwork, I think the longer the fight drags onto the feet, the more exposed Khabib's chin is going to be. And then there's that fight I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing Anthony Lionheart Smith take on Volkan Oezdemir, man. That's a really fun fight just because, Anthony's got a lot of momentum right now. He's coming off two big wins, one over Rashad and then the other over Shogun. And then you got Volkan Oezdemir, who, we know he's got one. It's weird. He doesn't look like it, but he's got one punch knockout power. And Anthony Smith, he doesn't even know how to take a step backwards. So,
I hope that Anthony just completely, not that I have anything against Volkan by any means, aside from him having arguably one of the stupidest nicknames that I've ever heard.
Oh, it's definitely up there.
Yeah, it's bad. And Anthony arguably having one of the best. Lionheart, that's just such a killer nickname overall. But not only that, I hope for the best for Anthony on that side of things. He's number 9 contender in the world right now, but he is just such a nice dude overall.
Oh yeah, man.
Talked with him last night down there in in Inglewood at Factory X, and he's just a solid dude across the board.
For sure, man. He was, he is an easygoing guy, man. Anybody, he'll talk to you if you're a fighter. Like, you don't have to be like one of his peers, He'll talk to anybody. He's cordial with people, man. That's just how people, because I graduated high school in Iowa, and that's how people from Iowa and Nebraska are, man. He really embodies how Midwesterners are, man. We're raised to have respect. We have respect for people. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is, and it's cool to see those values carry on throughout his career, man. And I hope, because Volkan, we saw the DC fight, we saw some vulnerabilities in his wrestling game, but other than the DC fight, all of Volkan's fights have been so fast. you just don't, you know, I mean, you're going to have to go back and watch, like, some of his earlier tape, to see kind of his vulnerabilities, but people change so much. So I'm going to be very interested to see, like, if it even makes it to a second round, how is it going to, how is the fight going to be, man? Like, because, with Anthony at 205 now, he can push a way harder pace than he ever could at 85 because he's not depleting his body so much.
Yep.
So that's another fight I'm looking forward to. And Dustin Poirier and Nate Diaz, that's going to be a good one. Obviously, we're going to be rooting for Dustin, Lafayette's own. But, we'll see, man. That'll be an interesting little scrap, man, because, Nate Diaz has had a long layoff. I think Poirier is going to win by decision because I think he's going to kick Nate's lead leg, man. Like, just kind of similar to the way Dos Anjos did. Kick the lead leg,
It's going to be a scrap.
But it's going to be a scrap because he doesn't, Nate's going to, he's going to weather it through, and we'll just, we'll have to see, man. I mean, how about the freaking stones on Dustin Poirier, man? He's, like, not going to sit around, like, he's not going to do the Tyron Woodley and sit around for a year and a half to get a title shot. He's going to go in there. He's going to fight another guy. He's going to just keep fighting until it's undeniable that he's the number one contender. So, and that's another reason why I'm rooting for Dustin, man, is because he shouldn't have to take this fight. But, he kind of has to just because of the Khabib Conor thing, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then you have El Kukui that's in the mix too. That 155 division is just so stacked at the top because then you have to wonder where in all of it, where does Kevin Lee fall into the mix and into the picture? There's so much concentration of that championship level talent that these guys are all just kind of waiting for their time. And
right.
Kind of a sad thing that, obviously the Conor situation has kind of held the division up a little bit. Right. And just sad to me overall, the whole saga of Khabib and Tony, and that it's been 4 times and we still haven't got to see that fight.
Right. I think right now, I think Kevin Lee is on the outside looking in. I think he's got to put together, because he's only won one fight. But he's talking a lot of shit, so it's helping out from. It's really Kevin Lee is only in really the conversation just because he's marketing himself that way. You know what I mean? He's kind of in that position where he's kind of talking his way into a fight. Because he's only got a 1-fight winning streak. He already lost to Tony, so I think that puts him way on the lower end of the pack. I think Tony Ferguson being the former interim champion, I think that gives him a little cachet. He's fighting Anthony Pettis, and Anthony Pettis looked good. He looked like his old self that last fight against Chiesa, especially against a guy that missed weight. Right. He looked like his old self. So, dude, it's kind of the right time for Pettis to take that fight because, Tony's coming off a serious knee injury, and he's coming back fast. So,
but he looks good, though. Have you seen any of Tony's training videos?
Yeah, that dude's a maniac.
Absolute freak of nature that he is, just months removed from that horrific surgery and injury to doing what he's doing.
Yeah, so, I think, who gets the next title shot in the lightweight division, it really just depends on, I think it just depends on that night who has the best performance. Because I think if Nate Diaz beats Dustin Poirier and Conor beats Khabib, money talks at the end of the day. They're going to go with what's going to make them the most money.
I think at that point it's either the trilogy or it's I wouldn't be surprised though if the trilogy gets put off and then if Conor wins, I wouldn't at all be surprised if the next move you see is Conor GSP.
Yeah, I hear that one tossed around a lot, man. I don't realistically think GSP can make lightweight, man. Like, a lot of fighters talk about a lot of stuff and blah, blah, blah. Like, I can do this, I can do that. But it's like, okay, man, you just won your last fight, you won the middleweight championship. You know what I mean? Like, your body is like, didn't react well going up a weight class, right? Because he said he got all the stomach issues. How's your body going to react when you're going down to 155 to a weight class that's 30 pounds lower? I mean, I don't know, man.
And that's where Chael, I don't know.
I think it might be like a super fight thing where they do like a catch weight at 65 if it happens.
See, and to me, I don't know. I don't think that it would happen at a catch weight. With Georgia's side of things. To me, if he wants to be a 3-division champ, I think that Chael Sonnen talked about this on his show. A little bit ago, maybe a couple weeks somewhere in there. But his thought to it with George going down to lightweight, he said, maybe it might be a lot easier of a transition for him than most people are thinking, because he did have such the stomach issues that he lost a lot of weight naturally in the process of it, of just going through his trying to get past the illness that he had going on with, I believe it was colitis that he had.
Colitis.
But he said that he maybe what he is interpreting from all of this was that George is at a comfortable spot, and George is a very calculated person in that respect, to where he feels that he wouldn't even be entertaining it if he didn't have the very strong possibility of doing it. He said that he felt that maybe it really is something that enough weight naturally peeled off of him to where he's at a good starting point, to where once it's time to make that cut, he's good to go. And who knows, it's not been confirmed, but I don't know if you've seen some of the recent Instagram posts or some of the stuff that's gone up online. But George has been spending time in the sauna, so on and so forth, doing things. There's people out there that are swirling the rumor that he's doing a test cut. So right now, kind of like he's treating this date with where Conor and Khabib are fighting, he's treating it almost like a camp in that sense, and he's cutting down to test to see if his body can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I heard another rumor that if they were to do GSP Conor at 165, they would kick off a new division, and then they would dissolve 170 and make it 175, and then go every 10 pounds. So
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
You just never know, man. There's so much stuff that goes on, man, and you just, I kind of don't really, when it comes to rumors and stuff, man, I just want to see pen to paper, man, get it signed, because, I mean, I'm not complaining if GSP and Conor fought. I know, there's guys, meritocratically that would deserve it, like Dustin Poirier and Tony Ferguson, but, the GSP Conor fight would be historic because it would be an MMA fight, not an MMA fight, an MMA guy fighting a boxer in boxing. It would be an MMA fight that would legitimately do 2 million pay-per-view buys. It would do 2 million pay-per-view buys. So for a fan, I'm just speaking as a fan, it would just be cool, because then it's like, now that we've broken that mark, who's to say it couldn't? We may have not. Who's to say we couldn't have a fight like Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather that breaks 3 million pay-per-view buys, so on and so forth. And it just helps. It just helps the sport, man. So again, I mean, like I said, but the thing about this lightweight division and stuff, no matter what they're gonna do with it, fans are gonna be satisfied with whatever they're gonna get.
Yep.
So it's gonna be a lot of fun, man. And what did you think? What did you make of Woodley and what he did to Till, man?
This is my take to that directly. Is I think that we all forgot how good Tyron Woodley is.
Yeah, man. I share with you. I mean, like, I don't, like, he had some boring fights, like, but every champion, like, that goes on a long run is going to have boring fights. Anderson Silva, he had 3 boring fights, like, very notable. Damian Maia. Oh, who else fought Damian Maia for the title? Oh, yeah, Tyron Woodley did.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to beat Damian Maia, you're going to have to fight a boring fight. Like, it's just the way it is.
You know, and with the way that I saw, you know, with Till in that way, you know, I mean, he did exactly what I thought that he was going to do. You know what I mean? He did exactly what I thought that he was going to do. He kept walking forward. He didn't really do anything with the right aside trying to set up his left. And you know, Woodley's assessment of why he wouldn't fight Usman on short notice makes total sense. You know, he said that he is a very calculated guy. He prepares meticulously for absolutely every aspect within that fight. And so that's why probably, you know, a couple of those other fights were snoozers and that he didn't take uncalculated risks or unnecessary risks. But within this fight, you know, you saw if you're going to talk, you know, essentially the 3 bare, you know, if you strip it all the way, the 3 bare components of an MMA fight, the stand-up game, the wrestling game, and then the submission game, Woodley showed why he is one of the best in each aspect. You know,
Absolutely.
In the stand-up, that slip was so calculated. You know, he always with his stance, he's just always sitting there with that right, just ready to slip. You know, ready to parry whatever it is to come right back with that power shot. He almost even half the time backs himself up against the cage so he can come back with that explosive shot. Well, you saw exactly that. Till kind of overextended himself. Woodley slips it perfectly, and then he just comes with that power right that drops him.
Yeah, and he fought the exact fight, like, for Tyron Woodley, right? Like, because everybody's different, right? Everybody has different strengths and weaknesses, right? So for Tyron Woodley, he fought the exact fight that he needed to against Till. You know, he did exactly what he needed to do. And the thing about Woodley is every guy he fights, he's going to do exactly what he himself needs to do. It may even be a boring fight, but, like, when you fight Wonderboy Thompson, he's such a nasty counter-striker. Like, you don't know if you're going to get hit with a hand or a foot's going to hit you right in the jaw. You have no clue. Or he's going to spin and do some other crazy stuff. Like, so you gotta be chill when you fight Wonderboy. And he's the one, and he put Wonderboy on his butt in both fights.
Yep.
So, and then like I was saying about Anderson Silva, you know, he's one of the funnest fighters to watch of all time. But nobody's going to watch his fight with Damian Maia, Talis Ladies, or Patrick Cote. Those fights sucked. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's going to happen, you know? And so it's like everybody makes it out to be like, you know, a champion is always going to have these, like, exciting fights that everybody's going to remember and blah, blah, blah. Really, truly, like when you think about these champions, like, you're going to have a few things that stick out. Like Anderson Silva, what's the first thing you think about? Is probably, you know, a few different things. It's the front kick to the face of Vitor Belfort or his rivalry with Chael Sonnen. You know,
definitely that. You know, I remember the very first time that I saw Anderson was, I believe it was Cage Rage, where they had the yellow canvas in there, where he had the, you know, just kind of like the back, like the reverse elbow that way. Yeah. And that was like, wow, I've never seen someone have so much precision, explosion, and power with that striking angle.
Yeah, and I never seen somebody do stuff like that. You know, it's like, there's just certain things like your coaches just can't teach. Your coaches don't go over a reverse elbow. Your coaches don't teach you question mark kicks. You know, I mean, they'll show you like a spinning technique every once in a while, but there's just certain things that people can do. Some guys can do that you can't teach. You know, but like like I said, with each fighter in their legacy, there's going to be like things that pop up in your mind, and there's things that are going to be like an afterthought, like, oh, whatever, like, who cares, like Mighty Mouse like, I think the first thing that's going to come to my head is him breaking the record the way he did. Like suplexing Borg, right?
Right. Grab an armbar in midair.
And now him and his little rivalry with Cejudo. It's not like a nasty rivalry, but it's a very competitive rivalry. Actually, that makes me think about something. What do you What do you think about this Cejudo TJ thing going on, man? It's very different. Kind of out of left field.
I like it, and I say that I like it in the sense that that Mighty Mouse is on the shelf. He said that he's hurt, so there's nobody that's getting slighted for for a rematch or anything in that regard. And I don't interpret that as being disrespectful to Mighty Mouse, because in my opinion, if anybody deserves an immediate rematch, it's him, both him and Stipe for that matter. But Mighty Mouse deserves a rematch whenever he is healthy. I think that this is a great way to kind of continue the the moment, because it is the entertainment era. Whether you like it, dislike it, whatever. That's irrelevant, because that is what the status quo for what the business is right now. If you're talking about entertainment value, they've already basically been doing their own little media tour, doing face-offs at TMZ, so on and so forth with this matchup. So that's something that I think would be exciting to see. I think that Henry's really, he's the 25 champion, but he's the bigger guy overall, which is crazy.
Yeah, and another thing is, I think Cejudo, in terms of his marketing, he kind of thought 2 steps ahead and said, like, how can I be different from Demetrius, right? Like, the promotion isn't very satisfied with Demetrius. Not that, like, Cejudo is, like, totally sucking up to Dana White or anything like that, but it's like, how can I be different? Like, I'll do something Demetrius wasn't willing to do. I'll go move up and weight and fight TJ Dillashaw. Mm-hmm. Especially, bantamweight doesn't really have like a clear cut number 1 contender. Like some people are proposing like a Dominic Cruz fight or a Rafael Sunsao or maybe Marlon Moraes. So it's good for bantamweight, because then they have time to sort their stuff out to find a clear-cut number 1 contender. And then at 25, Demetrius is hurt. Like, he's going to be out for a long time, and I don't want to see any other fight at 125 besides Demetrius and Cejudo anyway. So if that fight's going to be on the shelf, then yeah, throw Cejudo in there with TJ. I would love to see that fight.
Right. No, I agree. I completely agree with you there, on all accounts. Justin, we've been running it back for a couple of hours now. It's been a great conversation, man. As we start to kind of wrap this guy up, is there anything else out there that you want to share on a final note with the people listening out there? Anything that we might not have touched?
So I want to shout out my sponsor. Well, obviously you guys sponsor me, which I thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it and all the opportunities you guys bring with that. I also want to shout out my chiropractor, Ken Smith from Back in Motion Chiropractic in Daphne, Alabama. Guy's like a miracle worker. I also want to shout out, Nick Pertella and Joshua Furs from Combat Insiders, man. Like I said, they did a great job covering the event and doing the interviews and stuff, and I never felt like they never forced anything upon us. Like, they never asked too much from the fighters, Mm-hmm. So shout out to those guys. But yeah, and then check out my teammate Iron Mike Barnett next week, September 29th for Island Fights in Pensacola. It's going to be on UFC Fight Pass, so check him out. And I just want to thank everybody that watched the stream on Flow Combat from this past weekend. And anybody that wants to follow me on Instagram, justin.osborn.712, man. I greatly appreciate it, man, from all the love and support from down here in the Southeast to the people that came out to watch me fight, in the Northeast, to everybody that was gathering around in like the Decatur, Nebraska fire hall to just watch my fight. I appreciate all of my family, friends, and fans that support me.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Justin. It's always a pleasure talking to you, man. We have some great conversations. This is the Comments from the Peanut Gallery podcast. Just want to throw a quick shout out on the outro to Beyond Bridges and Project 432, as well as Lion League Music and the Terphouse. I hope that you all have a great, wonderful rest of your day. Please enjoy.
Dinner place for Judas, niggas claiming family, I no sacrifice. Grip a 40, sip a 40 for them gutter pains. Keep a release on the mobile for them show me nice. I ain't living right, long live the game. Maximize capital, finite physical. Fuck metaphorical, my whole life digital. Dash for that play, not playing, I never play though. And chords get stringy when you tired line and queso. Dímelo mijo, that's what they say when I free flow. Might wet that sweet spot, that's less love me flowing. From no M state, still screaming BMO. My time is my time, homie, I speed slow. No eyes, strong ties, fuck a Rico. Give thanks, drive slow and stack peso. Kiss your minds out through my little beso, yeah. Lay low and stay cool, the shit stressful, boy.
That's why I stay high. Look, there they go, macadamian, don't know a brainy in a match of cranium, so we roll up on you like Damien in that Mercedes-Benz. Got weed and drink with some lady friends who got the latest shit, but they fans and shit, so I ain't hit. Damn, here go the bass again, renovate your place again. We on the Vegas strip, rockin' straight out that bodega shit. We so legit, with no limit like I'm Soldier Slim, but I'm more like PMC. Pinkies up, feel me? Got my soldiers with me and my youngins down the ride. Got some bread up in the hills, got some sauce up on the side. Got Tino in here working like a nigga working nights. Said your girl just ain't his type. She just tryna catch a ride and she with it. And she so committed. Damn, your boy is fresh to death and you ain't even seen it. We cut from a different cloth and you can check my linens. Cause I was tryna stand out when you was tryna fit in. Adios.